Well, here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. What a beautiful, beautiful. Well, I guess it's morning. Let's see. It is. It's morning. It's 4:27 in the morning, and it's a beautiful day coming. Another day with the Lord. Another day with the Lord. And I climbed up this morning early in the arms of the Lord. And when I get up here in my little room and get settled in and get a little word behind me, a little prayer, a little studying, and sit down and to enjoy life, my little old dog, he comes upstairs right here. This is my little old dog. His name's Ziggy. Old Ziggy, he comes right up and he gets up in my lap and he's prepared to listen for a little while and to pay attention, even though we don't know the whole story about an animal. That's like the preacher said. A child, his cat gets sick, or his dog gets sick, or his pet gets sick, and in childlike faith he comes to the Lord and he says, Lord, take care of my pet. And then all of a sudden something may happen. Perhaps a kitty or a doggy or something gets ran over in the road and dies. And the little child says, and the preacher talked about this the other night. And I've been working with children most of my Christian life. And they'll pray for their dog or their cat. And they'll say, do you reckon I'll see my dog or my cat in heaven? I don't know. I can't answer that. But I can answer this. That God said He'll give you the desires of your heart. And if you follow Him, He'll give you the desires of your heart. I don't know whether you'll have your dog in heaven or not when you get there. I don't know what you'll want. Perhaps there won't be any kind of wants like we have on this earth. But other than that, let's go on this morning. This is gonna be the last one, these that I talk about. Getting a drink of water from the book of Philippians. The book of Philippians is a well of water put there by the apostle Jesus, the apostle of Jesus Christ, Paul. Paul was an apostle of Jesus Christ who dug a well in Philippi and filled it with water, spiritual water, and that well was the church at Philippi. He planted that church, and the seed from Philippi, if you will follow it, you'll find that it went out across the country, and it was a church that had individuals in it that followed the Word of God to the letter. They followed the Word of God. And Paul sent them a message he felt like was an essential message for them. And it is. If you go to another country, do you know I do not know what a stop sign looks like in Japan? I do not know what a stop sign looks like in another country, in most countries. And if I went over there to drive, do you not think it would be wise for me to learn what side of the road they drive on? To learn what a stop sign looks like? To learn what a yield sign looks like? To learn whether they go on green and stop on red, or go on red and stop on green, or whatever. Do you not think it would be important for me to discover that if I was going to go over there and drive from one place to another? Do you not think it would be important for me to learn the difference between a mile and a kilometer if I was going to go to another country? Well, now, here's some people in the land of Philippi who Paul has started a church over there. And now Paul is instructing these folks on learning what it is to be in a church and to keep things straight and to keep them going where they'll work and where they'll be right, where there won't be any accidents in the church. And we'll run through right quick. First thing is, he's saying, have the mind of Christ. The second thing he says is there's consequences for you if there's no activity. Now, if we stop at a red light and the light turns green and we sit there and we do not move, the guy behind us is going to get furious. He's going to blow the horn. He's going to say, hey, fella, the light's green. Would you move, please? Would you get out of the road? Would you pull over to the side and park and get out of the road or move on? Now, Paul's talking to the church at Philippi, and he's saying, as you move on, folks, you need to move on. And as you do move on, you need to know there is consequences for running stop signs. There is consequences for not having the proper word in your life. And he said, you are in a race. And now in that race, you have a prize at the end of it. And you must press forward to the mark of the high calling. The high calling is of Jesus Christ. Is there a mark on you? Do you have a mark that people know that you're running in a race for Jesus Christ and in Jesus Christ and through Jesus Christ and with His Word, with His approval? Are you running in that race? Now I'm going to tell you something. You can go to the race in Atlanta where people race, thousands of them every year, one time a year. They get out and run this 20-something mile kilometer race, and they run it. But let me tell you what, the only persons in that race can get acknowledgement or get a prize is a person with a piece of paper hanging on them with a number on it. How did they get that piece of paper with a number on it? They went through the authorship of the race, and those people wrote their name down, wrote that number behind their name, stuck it on their shirt, and said, you are now qualified to run in this race. And this is what Paul is telling the Philippian children. He's saying, you are now qualified through Jesus Christ to run in this race. Now, you may not come in first. You may not come in second. But you must endure to the end. There are 3 first prizes, is first, second, and third prizes that are recognizable. But there is another prize that's recognizable. That's the last man that came in. He stayed in the race and he ran until he got to the end and he stayed in. Do you know what? He did the exact same thing that the man that won the race did. He just didn't come in first. But he got there the long way, by exertion, by even being exhausted, and kept in, stayed in the race, and at the very end he's going to get the same prize as the first guy got. Now, running real fast sometimes is not the answer for having the most followers, or the most people who would say. There are a lot of people say, you remember that old man that ran and he stayed in? You remember him? And they don't even remember the guy that won the prize, the first guy. They remember the last guy. They remember how they handed him a drink of water, how they encouraged him, said, stay in there, fella. Stay in there, fella. Keep going. Press on. press on